Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Kansas City Business Cast. This is your host, Michael Reisinger. Hey, I really appreciate everybody's follows, likes, engagement on social media. Where we really need some help as well is with ratings and subscriptions on the podcast. So if you're one of those folks that's listening to us on a weekly basis, but you're not subscribed on your favorite platform, please do that. And then, of course, giving us a 5-star rating or whatever rating on Spotify, written reviews on Apple, we thoroughly appreciate that. Today, I have a very special guest, Tanner Sutton from the Garden DIY here in Kansas City. Tanner, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate it, Michael. I'm really happy to be here. You know, I've been watching from a distance what you're doing at the podcast for a little while, and I'm just really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, man. You were one of those folks that I found very early on. When I launched the Instagram back in October, I just started going down the rabbit hole, and I was already a huge fan of, the Combine and what was going on there. And I think like Alan might have shared like an open mic night or something. And then around that same time, I got a message from you and your team about, hey, can we get on the show? And I think at that time I had my queue was like slammed, but we had a talk on the phone, and it was like, I got to hear more about what you were doing and stuff. And it was like, man, okay, we're for sure going to make this happen because this is special. And then I went out to my first one last night, better late than never.
Oh yeah.
I was not going to talk to you about this today without going out there and seeing this in person. But can you kind of just tell us a little bit about the Garden DIY, what it is. And then, of course, we'll go back to your origin story, what your day-to-day is like in life and business and all that stuff. But if you were on an elevator with somebody, what would you tell them about the Garden?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, and I have a lot of these elevator conversations, a lot. I mean, what we do, we're out and about in the community a lot, and it's, you don't want to bore anyone. You don't want to say, oh, this guy just talks about the Garden, I would say the Garden is first and foremost a community. We are our community. We have a 8-person board that, shares the work from whatever it is. They're all people that love music, love artistry, and we put together a collective that hosts an open mic. We put on our own shows. If you're an artist looking for opportunity, you can reach out to us, and we will, go through our network however we can to help you out. We're just really a community that helps the arts how we can. And for me, and how it started was, hey man, I got speakers, I got a PA. Let's get some people some shows. So that's how we started doing it.
Yeah, man. I love it because I was talking to you and Rachel, your partner, last night, and Rachel she just got up and just sang 3 tunes that she's been working on. I mean, she was looking at her phone and just belting out these lyrics, and I'm like, and then she's running the sign-up table as well, and then you're running sound, and the guy showed up with his guitar, and that was your pedal rig, right, with the tube screamer and all that, and you have the tuner there because you're ready for somebody to show up with a guitar. You have a guitar there. This guy shows up with his own guitar. You plugged him direct in, and 5 minutes later, he was playing and singing. Yeah. It's just so cool, man. The closest thing I remember seeing with the Garden last night, because I'm a musician, you're a musician, and I think a lot of musicians, we know what it's like to grow up with house shows, right? Yeah. And I felt like I was 19 years old again last night, watching that. People are just hanging out. People are putting themselves out there. There was a gal that, she did a cover track or did 3 cover tracks, and it's just a supportive vibe, It
really is. And I mean, I think, I'm not going to take all the credit for that on Thursdays because that has a lot to do with Alan and the way he's built his business, right? The Combine, it says it in the name. But we definitely have very missions and what we want to do, and we do 2 completely different things, right? I mean, so partnering with them, it's a great experience, and it does, I think, us together on a Thursday gives that nice, you're just walking again into a community, into a place where sing what you want, poetry, whatever it is, people are going to hear it, and they're going to give you their feedback, honest, whatever it is. They'll probably tell you how you might be able to improve on something or do a suggestion for the way you're standing on stage or holding the mic or whatever it is. But Thursdays are definitely a place where you can find someone going up there for the first time. Someone like my partner, Rachel, who, sings professionally in a wedding band, has had a career in radio. So she's got some experience, and it's fun to see growth happen in that environment. And it really does. It's cool to witness.
Yeah, I think it's important too. I think maybe what we'll do as well after we kind of go over, how this started, your beginnings and where it's at. And you got some exciting things coming up for the rest of 2024, especially as the Midwest thaws out.
Yeah.
And you can actually,
it's coming.
Can do, outside shows again and stuff. But, something that I know, like you said, artists are coming up, but I know artists are finding each other as well. There was a rap battle last week.
There was.
How many guys were in that line just passing the mic down?
So there were probably more. I leave that. No, we have a great board. I let everyone kind of pick their names because, we're pretty loose. So like, we know kind of what you're going to do, right? We brought the group together. We know what your focuses are. So I'm like, we have, his name's Tony Alvarado. He goes by Antonio J. Very good hip hop artist here in KC. And when he wanted to get involved, we're like, yeah, sure. However you want to. But I think, hip hop might be that avenue. So when we did the freestyle battle, I let him and Quinn, who is our other hip hop specialist. But anyway, they like to go by the sheriff and the deputy sheriff of hip hop for the Garden. So, awesome. So yeah, we let the deputies figure out the freestyle battle, and they handled it. They came up with rules. They were picking different beats out of different envelopes, so things were fair. I was really impressed with what they did. They were like, let's do a freestyle battle. I'm like, I love hip hop, but I'm not the guy to put that on because I don't know anything about it. I've seen 8 Mile. That's about as far as on a freestyle battle that I have the
freestyle battle
knowledge of. But yeah,
lose
Tony
yourself,
and Quinn,
right?
Yeah, Tony and Quinn killed it, and they came up with that whole process.
It is so cool because it just appears, because I love what you guys do, and we'll put your socials in as well. But you live stream every open mic night. You have a phone out and it's live streaming it. You guys will post that. And so, it's unscripted, it's unedited. It's a place where people can come and create and do that. Going back to your beginnings. Okay. So how long have you been a musician? Just kind of, and maybe you could just tell us about your career as a musician and how it started and all that.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a musician since I was little, but I've played guitar since I was little. I remember, I feel like a lot of people have them, like the cool uncle, doesn't play by the rules, kind of let you do whatever you want kind of thing. And my cool uncle's name was Donnie, and he was in a band. He was in a local cover band. They were called the Circle of Friends. And in the Pittsburgh, PA area, they were all over the place. And he bought me a little Squire Strat, when I was like...
That was my first guitar.
10, 11 years old. And I started playing guitar then, but really didn't get, actually, I would say call myself a musician until I was in college. Got in a band for the first time with a bunch of fellow athletes, 2 wrestlers, 2 football players, and a track college athlete. So
you wrestled in high school and college?
I wrestled in high school and college,
okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
And it was like a band of athletes that kind of knew that crazy college schedule. But we called ourselves Liquid Picnic, and ended up, playing all the bars and stuff in our small town. We do parties and played those. And so that was really kind of my beginnings of like where all that came from. But then after college, moved back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I had a couple speakers and I had an acoustic guitar, and I did that for 5 years, 2-3 nights a week, playing 2-3 hour sets, mostly covers. Yeah, solo acoustic stuff. Hustled doing that, made a ton of friends, and then got a chance to move out here. And I'm like, I'm gonna, go start at open mics, do everything I can to get in the scene. Because when I moved, I was just really, really starting to kind of, I guess, be that musician and make that a big part of my life. And I moved here in November 2019, and the pandemic happened. So then it was like, what do you do? But and that's kind of how the Garden happened. But me personally, I've always liked to play the guitar. I found out I could kind of sing one day because our lead singer of Liquid Picnic got sick, and someone had to cover for a show, and they were like, well, all the lyrics because you do the harmonies. I'm like, well, I guess we're doing this then. And since then, I've at least accepted that I can carry a tune, which is, people seem to not mind.
So I got to ask you that because there's so many firsts here with having you on KCBC, right? Like, you're the first person that is musician, artist, what you do. We haven't had anybody on the show that has done what you're doing for our region. But you're also a guitarist that figured out one day you could sing. So me, when I play guitar, I can't even talk while I'm playing. How did you just one day just switch it on like a James Hetfield or Dave Mustaine? Like did you just say like, oh, well, I'm going to sing and pick at the same time? Like what?
I mean, I went from playing more of a lead guitar to, hey, I'm sticking to the chords, you know.
Okay.
And slowly since I've been singing, for years now, it's kind of to the point where I can play a little bit of lead and sing. But it was definitely a process. It was like, okay, if you want me to sing, you got to find a lead guitarist because I can't do that both right now. But
right. So very interesting. You said you got here in 2019 and you said that's how the garden started. So tell us about that.
Well, I mean, it definitely didn't start in 2019, right? But pandemic definitely played a big role in that, right? Trying to think. So November 2019, we're March 2020. That's kind of when everything.
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 months.
Close. So I came out here. Kansas City won the Super Bowl. I'm like, this town's fun, man. We're having a great time. And then the pandemic happened. Bought the house in August 2020 that I have now, and that's where the garden started. And then I ended up, in a house by myself. Got a couple roommates. Just doing yard work. We decided to cut down a tree and then to open up space in the yard. And it was, trying to think, this would have been September 22. So it really wasn't, right out of the pandemic, but after the pandemic, after everything opened up, right, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get shows now. And everybody, and again, I'm not the greatest, but when I was in Pittsburgh, I was booking shows pretty regularly. So I'm like, okay, we can at least get a couple, shows in the summer. We'll see. It was almost impossible, not because of the pandemic, right? That was done, but because I was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and everyone wanted to give the local guys shot. I was like, well, I am a local guy, but the guys that played before the pandemic.
I don't remember you from before 2020.
I understood the whole thing. That's just how that's how it goes. You want to give your regulars a chance, and we were all cooped up for so long. It's like, everyone still remembered those people that were there every day, and I was just kind of stuck in the middle of that. So it turned, from not getting shows that summer to what do we do? Well, we cut down a tree in the yard, and I said, well, let's build a stage and have a show. Like we were already doing the open mic, not at the Combine at that time, but at Art Garden KC, which is a local arts festival.
We're going to tag them as well. Yeah, they've got an Instagram presence, right?
Yes, and they're great people. Love what they do. It's very art vendor centric, and they put on an art fair. And at the end of their first season, I started doing music for them or for their finale. And then the next season, it was, okay, come back and do open mic. So we're already doing open mic there. Like, well, let's just invite some of our open mic regulars to do a show in the backyard. And we're like, oh, well, what do we call it? And then it was like, oh, it's in where the garden was. So it just kind of started like that. We had one show. We were like, we were looking, there's other DIY venues in Kansas City. There's one I can think of off the top of my head is the Greenhouse DIY. They're off, somewhere a little bit south of the city, but they're great. And I remember just going to their shows. I'm like, oh, well, like it's possible like for us to do it. We got the stage built. Let's just pay what you can at the door, have 4 or 5 bands, and just resoundingly after the first one, they're like, so do you guys do this every week? When are you doing this again? And I was like, I don't know. And then it quickly turned into, all right, this is going to be a once a month type of thing. And it was very, very fun. And don't get me wrong, it's been very, very fun the whole time, but it was super, super fun outside in the backyard. And then we hit that first winter. It was like, what do we do?
Yeah.
We ended up, putting shows on in the living room. We cleared all the furniture, everything off of my first floor. We'd carry it upstairs, the couches, everything, and put shows on in the living room. And eventually, through what we're doing, became an LLC, made it so we could start doing some of those business, like not even like in a, got to do the business way. It's more like becoming official so you can get the artist the right amount of money. So you can hopefully pay the people that are doing stuff for you what they deserve. When you don't have any, business ground to stand on, that becomes hard because it's all donation. So now once we say hey, it can be $10 at the door, well, we're expecting this many people, and then my data brain starts going, and we can figure out, hopefully, here's what we can pay the bands, here's what we can pay our people, and it's helped a lot better now that we've got official, and that's allowed us to do a lot of the stuff we've done out of the backyard. But when we started in the backyard, it was one weekend, let's have a concert, and it turned into, there's a stage. It's what is it? About 8 by 20 foot stage. It's a big stage in the backyard. And I think it's always going to be there. I don't think there'll be a summer that goes by where there won't be a show in that backyard. It just might not be every month like it was when we were starting out.
So many just insights there on what you were talking about. So like, number one, and I know this too from personal experience, but like artists, man, we do not want to be in the minutia of business. And, that's why I think up until like the boom of streaming platforms and SoundCloud and all that kind of stuff, like we always were dependent on the labels to do these things for us, and touring managers and artist management. And the reason why we had to hire those people to do the business things is because we just want to like focus on making music and all that stuff. So when you decided to make this, so it's an LLC, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Garden
and you have a board.
LLC.
How many people are on your board?
It's 8 of us.
There's eight of you. Like, so the fact that like you've assembled a business structure to this. Can you talk about that? Like, was that natural to you? Like, what are the strengths of the people that have come in? Like, it's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Like, I love it.
I will say the people that are involved now have been people that have kind of always been involved in some capacity, right? They've either performed for us, they've been friends that we've met through what we've done, but, it's been great building the team. When it started, it was me, and it was like the roommates that lived with me at that time. Neither one of them do anymore. They moved off to, life, doing other things. I think one of them's out in Lawrence right now. Not sure what the other one's doing, but I think they both kind of, moved out of Kansas City.
Sure.
They helped a lot when we started. And then when we got to that official, file the LLC, do all that, I'm like, okay, well, we don't have the roommate help, or I don't have the roommate help anymore. It's, so what are we going to do? All right, well, if it's just me, I can make it official, real easy. So we did that, made it an LLC, and then started bringing people on as board of advisors. And we have 8 people. They're great. Like we mentioned, Rachel, my partner, she's our COO, and she has had a career in radio. She's now in a wedding band, and she's been in original bands, and amazing singer, and an amazing wealth of knowledge from a standpoint of music. I really have no idea, like the radio, the PR, all that stuff. That's, again, like you said, it was not really up to us when I was doing it. And so, she provides a wealth of knowledge there. We also have, I already mentioned the 2 deputy sheriff and sheriff of hip hop. That is Antonio J. and Quinn Conrad. They're great people. They can both do amazing things producing wise. And Tony's also produced an album that he just dropped in like February. So there's a lot of skills there in hip hop. Then we have Jamogi Bridges. Not sure if you've heard of Jamogi. I actually play bass in his band.
That was the first time I'd heard of him. And so, and he's, again, like I said, these people have kind of been involved with us. Jamogi's someone who, if you look at his social media, again, it's everyone kind of doing it for themselves now. Not everyone, but a lot of local artists are figuring out how to get famous on TikTok and stuff like that. Right.
And Jamogi's very good at that. And so he handles all our social media and tag team with Rachel. So he uses that strength there. And, we're in a band together, and we're friends. And then someone that's been with us, and she's helped foster the collaboration partnership we have at the Combine, is Christina Clark. She is the catering coordinator at the Combine.
Okay.
I met her when I was working at the Combine. And
so you worked at the Combine as well?
I did, yeah. I think most of the board has at this point. We have Christina still, like I said, she's the catering coordinator there.
Yeah. She was there last night, right?
She was doing the bar last night.
Working the bar,
yep.
and okay.
Yep, and she handles all our food stuff. And then, what's it? Tony. And then the last two would be Joshua James Warren. He has a band called Joshua James and the First Aid Kit. They're all over town. They're great.
They were just on Prospero's Pit, right?
They were, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've been paying attention to what Danny Mac's doing over there.
Yeah, Danny's
so cool, man.
They actually, Joshua, he'll appreciate this. That since you mentioned Prospero's, they do a lot of live sessions out of there, and it's great. There is one coming for Jamogi, so we'll see that sometime. I'm not sure,
very cool
how that all works, but we filmed that. But the one specifically with Joshua James, they live recorded it and released it on Spotify, so you can listen to that Prospero set on Spotify, which is again a first for Danny and Josh, Luke, and all them involved. But it's really cool.
All these guys and gals are going to get lit up, man, with tags. I mean, because that's what I do. If a name gets mentioned on this podcast, they get tagged on social media. I don't know if they'll see it or not. Like that's always, but I want people. That's part of this. Is I want to bring awareness. And I think to our local artists.
It's great. I think I mentioned everyone at 7 except for I don't know when this will drop, but it's his birthday party tonight. His name is Heath Church. He's another local singer-songwriter. He again, like we said, we let everyone pick their own. I think he's the president of dance floor operations. He loves to dance and loves to get the party going. So not only helping us with all the site stuff, we kind of all do that together, but he'll get the party started. And a lot of the people on the board as well have big personalities, so we kind of let hosting the events go around to different people and see how that goes. And so
different people MC and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone on the board, because like Christina will be working the food. I mean, not that she hasn't come up. She comes up and explains what's on the menu and stuff all the time on stage. Yeah. But really, Jamogi, Antonio J, and Joshua, they kind of switch around hosting our events. Rachel will do some hosting too. Yeah, I'll do talking. I won't say it's hosting. I give the normal, here's what you need to know. Now I'll turn it over to these guys. They're actually going to entertain you. So.
Oh, dude, that's so cool. And so when I think about that, like if you were, a corporation or an organization, it sounds like everybody knows the core values. And I guess, have you guys done that exercise? Have you said like, this is our mission, this is our vision? Like what is that mission, vision, values?
So the mission, and I mean, it's in like our group chat that we know, and
I love it
we
it's in the group chat.
That's kind of we don't have a website yet. We're working on it through like our Square POS, because you can do a Square site. Yeah, working on that. But everything's mostly. I mean, we got a group chat. We have monthly meetings and agendas and stuff. I try to run it like a business, because I mean that's where my career is. That's where my education is, and it seems to help, because we're all crazy artists doing a million different things at once, to just provide like, okay, here's the outline, and then now let's put art into it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's been great to just grow with all these people. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. Our mission,
dude, hey, that's what we do.
Our mission is to give artists and the community space to perform and be themselves in an atmosphere that feels like home.
Dude.
Yeah, it was real big for us, because like the starting in the backyard, that's been one of our main goals. But no matter what we do, no matter where we put on the event, we want it to have that same feel as like you're walking in our backyard, right? We want it to be welcoming, and we want everyone, the board can't make it to every event, but when they're there, they're networking, they're happy to be there just with everyone else, because it's our community, it's our friends. It doesn't feel like work,
Right. Your background. So you're in business development. Maybe you could tell the audience about your full-time.
Yeah. Position. So my full-time position, I work for a sushi company. It's fun. It is, I've been in the grocery industry for most of my business career. I started with a company called Acosta. They do tons of different things in the grocery retail space, wholesale, a bunch of different channels. I was basically an account manager kind of role for them. Did a lot with the leadership through my MBA, getting my MBA. So I got to interview, some higher ups at that company, and ended up landing me the COO of Acosta at the time is now the CEO for the company the sushi company I work for. So the connections I started and which moved me out to KC for that Acosta company kind of got me this role with it's called Hana Group. And basically we are a sushi food service grocery manufacturer, or we put up like the kiosks. Like if you go to a Whole Foods, which Whole Foods is one of our clients, it's us and another brand called Kika and a couple other brands that provide all the sushi for the Whole Foods. So the kiosk that you see in the grocery store, it's not Whole Foods employees. That's like that space is rented out by one of the players in the space. And what I do is I work from home. I'm a data guy. I help them pull apart whether it's now I've been focusing a lot on procurement and sourcing, because there's opportunity there in the company, but sales analytics, labor, we take all this into account, costing items. So, we're not selling anything at a loss, taking into account labor, everything else that would go into, getting that sushi from ordering it to in the consumer's hands. But it's really it's all data, and using, what I do every day to kind of analyze what we do at the garden. I love the garden. It's become, such a huge part of me in this community, but the numbers I'm dealing with the garden are very small compared to, working for this sushi company that does millions and millions of dollars. And it's not even the dollar figures. It's what goes into it, right? We're a concert space. We have vendor fees, we pay the bands, and we split the door with the venue or whatever we're doing. There's only a few levers to pull, but my background lets me kind of lay that out for our board, and then kind of we all make decisions together, right? If I can like they're like, oh, we did this. I bet we did this on the door last concert, and I'm like, no, here's everything. Like, no, let's make some decisions. What can we do better? Like, did we something like, did we not have enough food? Well, here's when we ran out and here's how much we made. So we could have made this much money if we had just things that, and I shouldn't say make money. We really don't make any money. It all goes to, the bands and our board, but, what I do in my career day to day, really diving into the numbers as a business analyst allows me to kind of bring some of that to the garden, give us a structure, an outline, and then the 8 amazing, or I guess I'm the 8th. So the 7 amazing people I talked about kind of bounce ideas off each other and figure out what, how we can make that mission we talked about or more of a reality.
As you're talking about your background as well, and I think about this, not everybody has the skill of figuring out which data is important and has the skill of actually telling a story from the data, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you stand in between, it's an operational role, right? And you're seeing what works and what doesn't work. You connected it to the garden. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the only one at the garden that brings what you bring to that team, right? As far as data analytics. Yeah. So what is the data telling you, man? Like open mic nights, you got the new thing with Blip Roasters. Like what data points do you look at? You mentioned like when we ran out of food. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But like what type of crowd? What's important to people? Because it seems like it's, you're rolling the dice every time. Like you don't know who's going to come in. How do you make sense of all that, man? That data?
Yeah, I mean, well, the easy one that it's almost a cop out because it really doesn't tell much of the story is ticket sales, right? Because we do sell tickets for the monthly events, and it's like, okay, I like to look at the ticket sales from like a before the concert kind of standpoint of, hey, here's what we did last time. If we can sell this many pre-sales, like we know we broke we broke even. We know we did our job. The rest is like, let's have fun. Let's make sure everyone's having fun. The vendors, things like that. But yeah, along the numbers that I think we really look at, care about, that really tell that type of story is, and we don't get the actual numbers from the vendors because that's their sales. But we have like 4 or 5 art vendors at a monthly show. Almost the qualitative feedback of just gauging from them, because a lot of those vendors have, a lot of them have partnered or are partners with Art Garden. That's kind of that same bubble we all deal with, and Art Garden helps us out with that because that's what they do. But kind of just getting their gauge, and especially from some vendors we know have been around for a long time, like what would you do differently? Like, what did you like? And getting positive feedback there is really good. And then again, from the venues we host at is maybe the most valuable. Depending on the venue, like if this is the first time they ever did a show, they might not have a ton of input or expectation outcome, or whatever. But if you can talk to, like Blip, for example, they do shows there all the time. The feedback from them and making sure we got that right. Like after Saturday, we met with Blip on Monday. Like we already had that meeting scheduled to make sure, like we just, didn't think anything went wrong. We thought we had a really good night, but
tell us about that. What does that after action look like with them? Like whatever you're able to tell us, but what are the things that you could say, what worked and why? What didn't work and why? Like, what are those things that you guys review?
Yeah. First and foremost, like, is there anything like that we did, that you would like us to never do again? Like, let's just cut that out. We'll never do that again. Like, right. Cause we love this partnership. We want to know, is there anything that like we crossed the line with, like, cause we don't think we did, but if there's miscommunication there, like, let's get that out of the way.
Like letting people in too early, or sound crew shows up like way too soon.
Yeah. Like, they're a business. They're doing their own thing. We're very gracious that they let us do what we do. So if there's anything, roadblocks in their mind, like, let's handle that first.
Right. So you go to the barriers first. Yeah.
And then it's, what did we, or what did other people do at your events that we didn't do? Like what was, where did we miss? Whether it was, we didn't have enough people at the door and you saw maybe a couple of people walk by, and that didn't happen on Saturday, but I'm just saying anything like that. Right. What have others done? And it's not a competition standpoint. And I think that's something that's actually really cool about the arts. I don't think a lot of people have that. Everyone's more open to, sharing their practices and what worked for them. Cause they know it's not one size fits all, this stuff. So they can tell you what they kind of did, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Right.
It's nice to get that feedback from different people. And then from there, it's really like, making sure that we have ideas for that meeting and how, we can make it better for next time. Because right, if we just go to that after action meeting with Blip and say, hey, what didn't you like? What did you like? And kind of just probe them for questions. I don't know. That sounds like an interrogation to me. And I don't like that for anyone. Yeah. It's like, we want to come with ideas like, hey, we've done, or we did this, and we know that if we do this, it might be better. For instance,
I was going to ask like an example.
For instance,
what works really good.
Yeah, like just the lighting. Like it was our first time doing lighting in Blip, and we're like, hey, well, we noticed we hung from here. Next time we're going to hang lighting, over here and move the speakers over here. We think that'll make the sound better. And Blip, again, we're just started working with them, but they've been very amazing. They're like, guys, like, we thought it was good, but improve how you want. And I think, again, it's important to let them know that we want to improve. We're not just, okay, we did a show at Blip. They want us to come back. We got our plan now. Let's just keep doing that. Like, that's not how people grow. That's not how the garden grows. So I think it's just feedback from both sides, and definitely bringing our own thoughts to the table. So it's not, us asking and them telling. It's like, hey, here's what we think too. We're definitely going to take your feedback into account, but we want you to know that we've also thought about this. Right.
What's the draw, I guess, for the artists too? And like, what kind of feedback do you get from artists after these events? Like, cause they're the talent, right? Like they're coming out, they're showing up, and what does that look like? And I guess in that, let's start with like what type of feedback are you getting from the artists and people that go up to open mic for the first time? Like, what are you getting from people that are participating?
Open mic, like hands down, especially from the people that have just kind of started doing it. Love the atmosphere. That's kind of what we always get. It does feel like, we're stepping into a supportive space where we're not going to be judged and stuff like that. Yeah. I think that's beautiful for the open mic. And I think, the feedback we get at open mic is always pretty great. The only feedback where I guess it's something to just figure out, work on, perfect, get better any way we can is we have a featured artist at the end of the night. Figuring out there's a sweet spot, right? I think between getting the people all there for the featured artist and having a busy open mic, but also making sure that, we don't get ourselves in a situation to where we're running at 10 o'clock and Alan's like, hey guys, like we closed at 9. We did, So I think, just hearing feedback from the featured artist and how, cause they're the ones ending the night. I think that's very valuable with open mic, but the monthly shows, I think most of our feedback is just around, how we book and what logistical gaps we may have. Because like I said, we started doing it in the backyard, and as we get more popular, which we are, and it's great, we're getting the attention of more popular artists. So their feedback, the ones that we have headlining our shows or just hearing about us for the first time, just because we're kind of big enough to get on their radar, getting bands like that and getting their feedback, it just kind of allows us to know where we need to invest kind of next. Like, because off the bat, we don't have any wireless mics; they're all corded. When you got singers that want to run around stage and stuff like that, there's a challenge there. Same thing with in-ear monitors. We don't have in-ear capabilities, but you get to some of them big dogs in Kansas City, they're going to want their in-ear monitors.
Right. Like they've already got the molds for their ears, their ear canal all mapped out, and it's like, where do I?
It's things like that, and then it's that feedback right from them bands that we might not be big enough to book them, but we're trying to anyway. We get one of those guys on the bill. That feedback's immensely valuable. Yeah, but also the openers of the night and the artists that are just starting out, because that's, who we kind of let open our concerts. Their feedback's very important as well, right? Because we don't want them to be like, oh, everyone, only cares about the last band. And while more people usually do come for a headliner, if you can still get the openers to feel welcome and make them feel like they're part of the community, they'll be there at the end of the show. They'll be networking with that band, and then all of a sudden you have that, which I think is one of the greatest parts about what we do, is that up and comer, that new artist getting to talk to people that have been there, done that in Kansas City and beyond.
So you talking about that too, of drawing the bigger artists. It's funny. So last night, I was talking to Rachel about this, actually. She might have mentioned this, but like, have you noticed how the bigger bands, and I know this because I grew up in the music scene in California, I was spoiled. I told her this. I said, we always had a choice between San Diego, Hollywood, and House of Blues, Anaheim. Like, if a big act was coming in, it was like, which one do we feel like driving at? Here, if I see a band like that I love or that my wife loves and they get to Wichita, I feel like we won the lottery. Yeah. Kansas City has been getting more, especially after 2020, the pandemic. But, there's bands like they'll start on the West Coast or they'll start on the East Coast, and they kind of do this loop around the Midwest. And like the closest they get is like Minneapolis or Chicago, it's kind of a big topic, but what do you think it is about, Kansas City? Obviously, we've got a lot of success with the sports teams and like, bigger acts are coming here. I'm getting this picture of like your backyard having like a big act come in and being like, hey, we want to do something for people in the city, and we want to have, the openers be local artists, and you're like, I mean, I just went in like 5 different directions, which I do. Every episode has this moment, but how do you feel about just the local scene in Kansas City? And then the bigger acts that are here. When you say bigger acts, are some of those like in neighboring cities or states? Like what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, so we've, like I said, got lucky enough to, what I'm saying, for what we're doing are bigger acts. Shout out to, they're called the Caves. They're a great band out of Wichita. They contacted us to play in the backyard, and they wanted to do a standalone show with the 3 other bands from Wichita. We did it. They brought photographers. They brought a whole team. It ended up, because we thought it might rain, we cleared out the first floor as well. But we ended up having the show outside. But then we had their 20-person crew, all the bands, everyone sleep in the living room, on the floor, and with blankets. I mean, we gave them all the pillows we had. But I think having those opportunities, getting those bands that are big in Wichita, giving them a chance to come to Kansas City, and we've watched them kind of do the same thing for some of the bands in our community. And for April, our next show at Blip, we have another band from Wichita that's pretty big out there called Keo and them. They're going to come to the show and at Blip in April. So I think making those like regional connections is really, really important. Right. And again, making sure we're good hosts, making sure they want to come back to Kansas City. Cause we've had bands that, booked with us, played with us, and they're like, hey, like, we want to play at like a bigger venue. And I was like, well, all we have to offer you right now in February, a year and a half ago was my living room. Right. But it's like, okay, here's the name of, or mini bar, or wherever, some of the local spots. And it's nice to see some of those avenues open up for us as well. So I think it's not, I'm not saying it's the garden. It's that concept of, just making the world smaller, right? Regionally, locally, we have had a band come through from Minneapolis. They've come through twice. They wanted to, think about a bigger place to play in Kansas City. So we've recommended places for them, but they were this past October, drove from Minneapolis, dressed up as Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang, and played in my backyard. Like they're called Pull String. They're a great band from Minneapolis, but like just again, those bands that kick ass in other neighboring places, bringing them here. And then, I mean, the idea of getting someone bigger that's going to cost us, right, money. I mean, that's what's like from booking the huge, like someone really big where then we can have local people also open up for us. That would be really cool. We don't have the money to do that, but that's what, we're working on our first sponsorship video. We're starting to get all that stuff together to kind of go down that avenue of, we really think I know we have a good community here. And, if we can get a couple of, sponsors that believe in what we're doing, that will really help us be able to really make this community as big as it can be.
Absolutely.
I mean, DIY will always be DIY at our core, no matter what we do. And we're definitely going to take that in consideration when figuring out who, might sponsor us or anything like that. But at the end of the day, if we want to, keep going down that path of growing with our mission, we want to have some people that believe in what we're doing too, so they can, sponsor the stage or the food or the bands or whatever it is to get more money to those people that make our community great.
So you talked about sponsorships, right, too. And this just, I get the chills hearing you talk about this, because like I can envision this, like if you take this vibe and you make it so that it's scalable, and then you've got the bigger artists and sponsorships. I mean, what if you had the Garden Fest one day? Like what you know what I'm saying, bro? Like, it's like you said, it's about the way you treat people. And that's what I think separates 100%. You from every other experience. And I know too, from touring in my own band on the road, I mean, we remember houses of promoters that let us stay. Their family let us stay in the basement. And those were some of those shows and those experiences were better than any of the ones where they put us up into a fancy hotel or whatever. You're creating these memorable experiences, especially for people that are, up and coming, or they're out there and they're amazing and they're a gem and they need other people to come alongside them.
And I think, Kansas City I've been lucky enough to have a pretty front row seat to the local music scene for the last couple of years, but man, there's some wildly talented people here. It's insane. And that's one thing. You mentioned Danny Mac. He's a good friend too. And we have that conversation a lot because he, like you said, he does the Prosperos thing. He's like, man, the talent in this town it's insane. It's like, I think if we build that strong community and it's a place where people can be themselves and feel empowered, it might only take one of us to blow up, then we all blow up, right? Because we're that community that wants to do it the right way, which I think everyone on our team, is there because they want to do things the right way. I think everyone that comes to open mic is on the same boat. It's just, let's get more people there on Thursday. Let's get a bunch of people at Blip to just come and see what we're doing. It's nothing other than that. If you don't like our community, that is 100% fine. Nothing is for everyone, but we just want you to give it a shot.
When you're talking about the growth and stuff too, like who are you looking for to add to your team? Or if you're not looking to add people to your team, like what kind of support do you need to see more of? Like just kind of using this conversation we have to kind of tell people, we know how to find garden events and you have a really strong social media presence, but what are you guys looking for? We're in Q1 right now, 2024. What's important for you? Like, what are you looking for, support wise? You talked about sponsorships. Like, is there an ideal, way that a company can sponsor? Like, what do you guys need? What have you guys talked about?
The thing that I think we do that, not a lot of people do it. I think it's very important. We at least offer all the bands a guarantee when they book the show with us. It's not a lot, but you're going to get paid for this set, and then hopefully the numbers, right, make that bigger. But, from what I've seen, I think we need, people to, whether it's a sponsor or donation, whatever, support that guarantee, right? If we know that guarantee, right, isn't coming out of the Garden pocketbook, right? If we know the bands are sponsored by X, right, and their guarantees paid for, okay, well you get that money, and here's the percent of the door you get, and that is extra. Now that that's not going into you. Hopefully we make this, and then hopefully the Garden doesn't have to pay you out of pocket because we didn't make enough money. It's
right.
The band's guarantees paid for. Now let's all go make an awesome event, and the bands will be paid very well,
right?
And yeah, we get to keep doing what we're doing. I think other than that, one thing that a good friend of mine, Russ Hill, he does all this lighting and sound at Inglewood Arts, where we did our January, February, and New Year's show. Kind of that mantra. I think there's memes about it too, but it costs a lot less to go see your friend play a show than it does to go see a big band play a show. So it's about finding those people to support the artist, right? Like, I think at the Garden, we don't have a shortage of talent. We definitely don't have a shortage of artists that want to come by with us and be a part of it, which is amazing. And I'm forever grateful for. But sometimes, it's about getting the supporting community out of there, because at the end of the day, that's how these bands get big and how they get noticed, is not because, unfortunately, if it was because of other music, and sometimes it is, you know what I'm saying? But the bands and themselves, they're a community. They all support each other. If we can get people to also come, a community to support the artist as well, that's I think what our goal needs, or one of our goals is, Q1, how do we get more people that aren't artists to want to come support the arts?
Right.
Because there's tons of events out there every week. There's again, that big name is coming now through Kansas City more often.
Right.
So it might make it harder to get people at local shows, but I think we're building a good thing where I hope that's not an issue.
What can people expect, I guess, and what's that value of coming together?
Yeah, I think a lot of us kind of learned the value of what together was over the pandemic when we were all locked up for so long. And I don't think I have to remind people about how, everyone was lonely or alone. I mean, you had who was in your house, and that was probably about it because you couldn't go anywhere. I mean, I think the value in a community is so you can have the opposite of that feeling of being alone in your house by yourself. But I think, the artists, the talent's insane. Like you said, the people we had last night, I mean, Delaney, the girl that did the covers, she can really sing, man. And she's there every week. We have Rachel, we have the talent. So you're going there and it's open mic. So you do never know what you're going to see. And I think that's the beauty of it too. But at least out of most of the regular people that come through, you're going to get a good show. Yeah. And you're going to get to interact with vendors. We have a couple of vendors every week. You're going to get to interact with, the bartenders, everything that the Combine's got going on. I really think it's just about, wanting to support others that are doing what they love. Like, these artists are here because they love it. The people at the Combine, from the staff to Alan, everyone, they love being there. They love what they do. Yeah. So like, that's the sell. It's be part of that community where, you can be whoever the hell you want, and 99% of the time, because nothing can be 100. Yeah. You will be loved and accepted by everyone that's at our events. So
what I love too is like, I think everybody out there, everybody knows somebody who can sing really good, but hasn't done it since choir in college, or they have put their musical talents on the back burner. That's like what you guys are doing at the Combine. It's like, you hear about karaoke nights and people like doing, it's like, this is like so much better.
Oh yeah. I think
go and write your name on the yellow notepad, sign up,
for sure.
It's so cool. I mean, and what you're talking about, supporting local people, haven't, created a platinum album yet.
Yeah. And again, not that that's not in other places, but man, Kansas City is a fun place to be right now for all that. I think there's so many local businesses. Another one that I just thought of when we were talking about the community is Clark Roosevelt. They were as a family at open mic 2 weeks ago. Yep. His sister came up and sang. She
sang Killing Me Softly, Lauryn Hill's version. Yep. Yeah.
She killed that. Clark came up, did his thing, obviously killed it. And then we're like,
put a video of himself up there.
Well, we're like, the fam's done, right? His dad starts walking up and goes, I don't need music. I'll just do a cappella. His dad belts out 2 songs. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah. He had his mom in the corner of the frame.
I love this.
just love Clark, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
One of my favorite dudes, man. So we're going to put all your socials in, the show notes and stuff. But is there anything that, as we were talking, like came up that you wanted to make sure you told people about, or you wanted to discuss on the show?
I mean, I think we touched on a lot of stuff. I would just say, again, to just reiterate, it is so important to go to a local show. It really is. Go, bring your friends, especially if you don't know the bands. Just go and check it out. New experiences are very valuable to anyone, whether you don't know the band or don't know the people or whatever, especially if it's one of our shows. You can just message us on Instagram. We'll make sure you have friends when you walk in the door. You'll be all right. But I think it is so important to go out and support, local people, and whether it's music, art, whatever it is, whatever you want to do or however you want to be entertained, see if someone does that locally, because people are famous and making millions of dollars doing a ton of things.
Right.
And you might be lucky enough to be friends and know one of those famous people and they're your buddy or whatever. But most of the time, the famous people you support, you're not going to have a personal relationship with. And that's just the nature of the business. But what we do is we can, it's a local scene we can offer you. You can listen to a song, go listen to it on Spotify after you're done, and then go, hang with that person for 3 hours, probably drink a beer, talk about whatever, because what the scene's about. And yeah, just I think that's it. For me, as far as kind of reiterating stuff, just go support the local scene. And if you have something you want to do, go do it. Like, not to be Nike over here or anything, but life's too short, man.
It's true.
It's too short. If you want to have a podcast, figure out how to have a podcast. Like write it down. Write down the steps that you need to take to do what you want to do, and you don't have to do them all at once. Just check off number 1, then go to number 2, and before you know it, you'll be there. But yeah, start.
Absolutely, man. It's been so cool having you on the show, Tanner. Likewise. I appreciate you, man. I can't wait for this episode to go live. We'll launch it probably end of this month or early April, and all the artists we've talked about can expect to get lit up on Instagram.
Oh, heck yeah.
And Facebook, wherever they're at, man. We're going to tag every single person, man.
It's fun. I will say that, I guess one thing I didn't mention is that we have we call it our garden family. And this is where a lot of the collaboration comes from. And, that's, we like to say we love our garden family. It's everyone that's ever performed at the garden in a group chat. And they swap shows, they get shows in other towns.
Oh my gosh.
They do all the networking, and we just, we'll post our events in there, but it's mostly for them to, figure out how to connect. And whether it's, like I said, we've had bands in Minneapolis, Wichita, wherever. It's about getting them to connect.
So how many people are in that chat approximately, if you had to guesstimate?
Close to 100.
Dude, that is amazing. Yeah. That's another aspect. Like, how many other venues do you know that are going to do that?
Yeah, that's,
man, that is so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Definitely wanted to mention that. Yeah. Our garden family, it's just a group chat, but it's awesome. It functions, in all the ways we want it to.
That is so cool. All right, Tanner, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Everybody, remember to follow The Garden, connect with these bands that we've mentioned, these local artists. Lots of great things happening here in Kansas City. We appreciate you.